here this morning are currently on the edge, and you're wondering about what life is going to bring for you around the corner, and you're kind of a little worried, you don't know if you can turn to God or away from God. So for you, I would suggest that you just simply need to get near some other people who have a good perspective. If this is your first time with us today, I want to encourage you to plug into something going on this week and begin to build some relationships and connections with people who've got a good perspective on what this whole change thing is all about. And so I just want to end by telling you one final story. When I was in college, I had the privilege of being the freshman class president at my school. And one of the traditions at Wheaton College where I went is this thing called the bench. Now, the bench is just a big slab of concrete. I mean, not big. It's maybe, as wide as from the Bibles to this computer here, and maybe only that, thick, that wide, that thick. It's got big poles coming out the side of it. Because the tradition goes back years and years that there was this bench that was given to the senior class. And it was donated from one senior class after they graduated to the next senior class. And so it was placed on campus in a prominent location, and supposedly only seniors could sit on it. And so then the junior class decided they were going to steal the bench, and they stole the bench and put it somewhere else so that they could sit on it. And over time it began to become sort of a game where now it wasn't on campus where people could sit on it. It was now being hidden. And so once or twice a year, the junior class or senior class, whoever had it, would bring the bench out into the public view, display it so everybody knew which class had the bench, and then there was an ensuing brawl in the attempt to change hands on the bench, and it would go back into seclusion for a while. I was president of the freshman class, and one winter, a friend of mine stumbled into a snowbank because I guess he was clumsy, and at the bottom of the snowbank found a piece of concrete that seemed to be out of place. In brushing some of the concrete or some of the snow away, he noticed that it was the bench. He comes running into my room and he says, "Jeff, we found the bench." Freshman class never had the bench. It's a junior-senior thing mostly. He goes, "Jeff, we found the bench." I was like, "Dude, I know the bench is just out there, right?" He goes, "No, the bench." I was like, "The bench?" "Yeah, the bench." He goes, "We got to go get it." And I'm a loser, okay, because I liked my grades in college. And I had a test the next day. And I decided the test was more important than participating in the bench situation. And so I just delegated that out to him. I said, "Go get some people, go get the bench." I'm studying. So I studied, got a B on the test or something, and was irritated. But then the next day, he comes back, he goes, "We have the bench." I said, "Okay, where is it?" "It's hidden away." "Cool, where is it?" "Some guy's backyard. I don't even know who it is or where it is, but this guy said he knew this guy, and so they said they could hide it. And so it's under a pile of leaves and blankets and stuff in the backyard of this guy's house." I'm like, "Cool." Keep the president partially in the know, partially in the dark. Because within a few weeks, the football team found out that the freshman class had the bench. And they started sending me threatening notes. Because I was the president of the class. Whoop-de-doo. And they sent me these notes saying, "The freshman class has 2 days to reveal the location of the bench." Because, see, the football class, once the freshmen had it, then the football team felt like they were allowed to have it, even though they weren't an official class. They were a team. So they thought they could break the rules because the freshmen now had it. And so they said, if you don't reveal it in 2 days, we are going to get you. Shoot. I tell you, that spring, I went into a deep funk. I was depressed. Not only was I struggling in that one class that was irritating me, not only did I miss the opportunity to get the bench, Not only did I not know the location of the bench, which was my only saving grace, but I had the whole football team, the entire football team out to get me, and I had no idea what they were going to do. But note after note, letter after letter would show up in my mailbox in the campus post office with things of that nature. We're going to shave your head. We're going to tape you to the flagpole. We're going to do all kinds of things. We're going to kidnap you. And I was freaked. And I was recognizing that my life was on the edge and change was necessary. So I decided to call my vice president and resign. No, what I did was I kept getting more and more depressed. That was it. I just got more into myself, spent more time by myself, spent more time avoiding people because I didn't want to be anywhere where the football team might be able to get me. Locked myself in my bedroom, my dorm room, and just stayed there as much as I possibly could. And one night, we had one of these things where the guys' floor and the girls' floor were allowed to co-visit each other. It only happens rarely. And so for about an hour or two, the girls' floor was open, and some of the girls over there knew me and called me up and were like, come on over, just hang out with us for a little bit. And I was like, okay, fine. So I'm looking both ways. I go over to the other floor, and I walk into the room, and they've got streamers all over the room and balloons in the room. And it was a Jeff Feel Better party. The only surprise party I've ever had, really, and totally got me. And I walk in there, I'm like, what is all this? And they give me presents. They gave me silly putty, because there's always time for silly putty. And they gave me poems that they had written. And they pulled out a box of finger paints and paper and said, we're going to finger paint together. And for about an hour, me and 3 other girls, which wasn't a bad thing anyway, were finger painting, silly pictures, eating candy, having a party. And I left there not necessarily feeling better about the football team, but feeling better about who I was. People loved me and they cared for me. And listen, when you're in a moment of crisis, the principles that I've given you aren't necessarily going to be the things that save you. It's the people around you that are going to enable you to get the perspective so that the principles make sense. And the one person you can always count on is God Himself. Every change is a crisis. Every crisis is an opportunity. An opportunity is a gift from God. I don't know what you're going through right now. I don't know what kind of experiences you're struggling with or wrestling with right now. But God has made a promise that if He brings you to a place of crisis, He can lead you through it